Right now at 5, the McCune man who shot his grandson now faces murder charges.
And we've got some strong thunderstorms out there this morning. We'll keep an eye on those thunderstorms and tell you about our evening storm chances coming up.
Plus, a Carthage man is sentenced to life in prison for his role in a fatal car crash.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
And good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 5 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
I'm Chris Warner. So we've got some strong thunderstorms out there this morning. No severe weather in our immediate area right now, but we will keep an eye on these. They've been developing here over the last few hours, and they're just about right on schedule, moving from the southwest to the northeast. And you see, we've got a number of them and quite a bit of lightning across the area as well. And we've had this line kind of connect and develop into northeastern Oklahoma this morning. Again, no severe weather in our immediate area right now, but look how quickly all of this activity just kind of flared up, came together. We've got thunderstorms across southeast Kansas, northeast Oklahoma, starting to roll into southwest Missouri and northwest Arkansas. So again, just want to emphasize no severe weather at this moment, but we'll keep a close eye on these storms. We still have, excuse me, I had to run this morning, and I am not the most in shape. We do have our severe threat for today. So we now have a low to elevated tornado risk across the area, which you can see elevated in yellow and a lower risk in the brown. We've got an elevated hail risk across the area, and we have an elevated to enhanced wind risk as we head into the evening hours. And that's really what this is for, is more of a focus on those potential evening severe thunderstorms. So let's take a look down the road at what we're looking at here. We go into about the noon hour, and as we're expecting, these showers and storms this morning should begin to clear out. The question again remains, how much recovery can our atmosphere do once these storms clear out? If the cloud cover hangs out too long across too large of an area, or if these storms for any reason regenerate and kind of hang on a little bit longer, then the atmosphere is not going to recover as much. We may still get some evening thunderstorms, but our severe threat again would be considerably lower. If our atmosphere can recover, then we're looking at the potential of some severe weather development. Now, this latest update on the future track for this morning, at least, is kind of going off the possibility the atmosphere may not recover. So you can see it's really limiting the thunderstorm development. But if it does, we're looking after 4 o'clock, so roughly, we'll say between 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. across the area is when we could see redevelopment of strong to severe thunderstorms, and they'll push off to the east across the region. So it's, again, something that we've got to watch very closely as we go through the afternoon and see what our atmosphere does. Right now in Joplin, we've got lightning off to the west with the thunderstorms in Cherokee County. We've been seeing quite a bit of that. 74, so not a bad start, but again, a pinch warmer than where we have been. And temperatures around the region aren't too bad either, but they are a bit on the warm side. So we got 70s even where it's raining. 76 Neodesha, 75 Parsons, 73 Chetopa, 71 Fort Scott, 74 Miami, and 73 in Neosho. So we're still expecting these thunderstorms to continue through the morning hours, and they'll start to clear out as we head toward late morning, early afternoon. We'll be into the mid-70s, and we've got highs today right around the mid-80s. And again, it's just going to be dependent on what happens this afternoon to determine what's going to happen with our thunderstorm chances into the evening hours. We'll continue to track the morning storms, and if any watches or warnings pop up, we will let you know, and we'll continue to monitor our chances for this evening and have more on your forecast here in a few more minutes. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. Well, we kick things off with a look at the results from yesterday's local elections. We start off, of course, at the Airport Drive marijuana tax, and going through that, we have the city of Duquesne. We have the Village of Airport Drive, Proposition 8, with 27 yes and 4 no. Then we also have City of Alba with 12 yes and 0 no. Neosho Special Road District, 140 yes and 32 no. Seneca Special Road District, 41 yes, 9 no. Fairview Special Road District, 10 yes, 0 no. And Diamond Special Road District, 13 yes, 10 no. Stella Special Road District, 9 yes, 3 no. And Midway Special Road District, 44 yes and 6 no. Be sure to download the KOAM News app for all your election needs. You can also go to our website for election information at koamnewsnow.com/elections. The website will include resources for all of the 4 state areas, such as polling places, deadlines, dates, and you can even check to see if you're registered to vote. Once again, that's koamnewsnow.com/elections. And the man suspected of killing his own grandson in McCune, Kansas Monday is now formally charged with second-degree murder in the case. 70-year-old John Fox of McCune made his first court appearance yesterday to hear the charge. The shooting occurred at the McCune, Kansas home early yesterday morning. Investigators believe John Fox shot and killed his grandson, 28-year-old Ian Fox of Lexington, Kentucky. Still no word on the circumstances surrounding the shooting or a possible motive. And a Carthage man learns his fate for a fatal crash that happened just over 2 years ago. Kenton Cowgill gets a life sentence for second-degree murder. Authorities say in July of 2021, Cowgill was passed out in his car, blocking a driveway. Joplin police say when they woke him, he sped away, leading them on a chase. That chase ended in crash involving 2 other vehicles at the intersection of 7th and Quincy Road. Police say Cowgill tried to flee from the crash scene and get rid of 94 grams of meth. And the driver of one of those vehicles, 66-year-old Robert McDermott of Joplin, later died from injuries suffered in the crash. In addition to the life sentence, Cowgill also received 15 years for DWI death of another, 7 years of resisting arrest, and another 15 years for trafficking drugs. Town officials in Knoll, Missouri are responding to the surprise news that came Monday. The news that the Tyson chicken plant will close in late October was sprung on city officials just an hour before the decision was made public. However, discussions and plans are already in motion to help community members in the coming months.
I have a meeting with Tyson again tomorrow, so hopefully I'll be able to learn a little bit more then. Also, John Newby, the president of the McDonald County Chamber of Commerce, contacted me this morning. They want to put on a job fair to try to help people relocate, stay in the area, possibly even stay in town, so all these are positives.
These plans are still in the discussion phase, but the mayor hopes to have much more information in the coming weeks. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News, we take a look at how the Joplin football team is shaping up this year with Chris Warner in sports. Plus, we learn more about new rules implemented to help keep babies safe while they sleep. And we take a look at incoming morning storms in the Skywatch Weather Center with Chris Warner. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back.
Well, yesterday was day 2 of high school football practices in the state of Missouri, and yesterday evening brings us to Joplin High School and an Eagles team that returns to a lot of firepower. A year ago, the Eagles finished the year 7-3, bowing out in the district quarterfinals to Raymore Peculiar, but the Eagles bring back every starting skill position player on offense but one, and senior wide receiver Aiden Sampson, who's been a part of that starting lineup since being a sophomore, says they're ready to exceed those already high expectations.
I'm excited for it. We've been a really good team. I mean, we've had starters since my freshman year, so their last year here, I mean, a lot of people are expecting us to be great, and I know we're going to be great. Yeah, I'm really excited for it. I've been starting since a sophomore, so I mean, coming from that position, I think we're going to do really good as a team.
We were able to work this summer, obviously, but it just is a different feel once the actual season gets here, and we're working towards that first week. We got Branson week 1, and that's obviously first on our mind right now. So that's what we're working towards.
The The NFL season is just a month away, and a former Missouri Southern Lion just got a step closer to landing on a 53-man roster. LaColby Tucker, who played for the Lions in 2020, signed with the Atlanta Falcons. The team announced that on Monday. The offensive lineman transferred to MSSU from Garden City Community College in 2020. You might remember the Lions only played one game in March of that season, and Tucker actually hasn't played any organized pro football since then, outside of participating in the XFL Combine this summer. Meanwhile, Penn State women's basketball is closing up shop on its trip to Spain. The Gorillas finished 2-1 in the exhibitions played against international competition. The Gorillas went 2-0 in Madrid before dropping their final game in Barcelona on Monday. Both the Penn State coaches and players say this trip was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, and it hurts to end on a loss, but facing top-level competition in the offseason is invaluable. The Gorillas plan to return home to Pittsburgh on Thursday. Their season unofficially begins with an exhibition at Kansas State on November the 3rd. Elsewhere in the NFL, the top 100 rankings as voted on by the players are finished up. Not much of a surprise who comes out in at number one. That's two-time league MVP, two-time Super Bowl MVP, Chiefs starting quarterback Patrick Mahomes. It's actually the second time he's finished with the number one ranking in the league's annual top 100 list. Both of them have come after a trip to the Super Bowl in the preceding season. It's been a heck of a year for the Chiefs signal caller. He not only finishes number one on the list, also gets featured in the Netflix quarterback documentary, wins ESPY awards for Best Male Athlete and NFL Player, and of course, Super Bowl 57 MVP. Now, Mahomes not the only Chiefs player to finish high on the list. In fact, Kansas City has 3 players in the top 10. It's the only team in the league to have more than one top 10 player. Defensive tackle Chris Jones finishes 10th after a career-high 15 and a half sacks in 2022. And Travis Kelce, one of the best to ever play tight end at the 5 spot after breaking the position record last year for most games with more than 100 receiving yards. Well, still to come, Iran says they're ready to swap prisoners with the U.S. And we're continuing to keep an eye on strong thunderstorms across the 4 states. We'll have another look at that forecast and what the evening holds when we come back. Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 5:17 now on this Wednesday morning. Some strong thunderstorms rolling through the area. We've got quite a light show. A lot of dangerous lightning out there across parts of southeast Kansas, stretching back into northeast Oklahoma. And we've got a little cell coming out of Cherokee County, moving into the Joplin area. And as you can see, all of these storms quite electrical out there. So lightning, as we know, is dangerous. We ran that story yesterday about those 4 young girls in Salina that were out swimming and lightning struck, and they were injured by that lightning. You've got to take it seriously. Right now, we do not have any severe thunderstorm watches or warnings of any kind in the area. We have some stronger storms in parts of southeast Kansas. The rest of these are just really good rainmakers, lots of electrical activity with them as they continue to push on off to the north and to the east, and you can see how quickly they developed as well. I mean, you just watch this line. This is going back 3 hours, and you see how fast everything came together on this. So this is what we're keeping an eye on as we go through the morning. Then we have round 2 potentially this evening. We've been talking a lot about this, and we're going to explain a lot about our evening storm chances. As of right now, the new updates from this morning, we have a low to elevated tornado risk across parts of the area. We also have a low to elevated hail risk, and we've got an elevated to enhanced wind risk for damaging wind gusts. We're talking 70 miles an hour, possibly greater. We're talking hail, maybe ping pong ball size. And then, of course, we are talking an attendant potential tornado threat as we head into the evening. But all of this is so heavily contingent on what's happening right now. Now, take a look. The future track, if you were watching just maybe 5 or 6 minutes ago, is already updated. This system updates as it gets new information every hour. And it's already updated. It had just thunderstorms in parts of southwest Missouri by noon. Now it's showing a few back stretching possibly into southeast Kansas. All of our severe threat this evening is contingent on what happens after these storms this morning into the afternoon move out. If we get this kind of clearing and we see this activity move on out, then we could see strong to severe thunderstorms developing right across southwest Missouri, parts of extreme southeast Kansas, and into northeastern Oklahoma. And that's where our better severe threat will be between, say, roughly, we're going to go 5 p.m. and 10 p.m. If the atmosphere does not recover enough, which is what this particular computer model is going off of right now, then There will be storms, but the severe threat will be considerably lower and it'll stay further to our east. So it's something we've got to monitor very closely because it's all dependent on what happens through the afternoon. Otherwise, once we get into our Thursday, we clear out and we're looking pretty good and we're looking good overnight. Wow, there's some good lightning. Mother Nature usually doesn't perform when we have storms and we pull up this camera. There's usually not much to see. Got a thunderstorm in Joplin, obviously, 74 degrees. Not a bad start to the morning, just some thunderstorm activity out there. So make sure you're taking precautions in terms of the lightning. Starting to rain, of course. A little cooler to the north, 70 in Iola, 71 Fort Scott, Nevada, 72 Pittsburgh. We got 74 Neodesha, Independence, Parsons, Miami, and 72 in Neosho. So as we go through the morning, we'll have those thunderstorms rolling through, and they'll start to push on out toward late morning, early afternoon. So they'll become a little bit more scattered. Some of us, especially in Kansas, Oklahoma, will start clearing out. We'll go mid-70s by late morning. Then this afternoon, all depends on what happens here. We're looking at partly to mostly cloudy skies and temperatures into the mid-80s, and then we'll start to see potentially thunderstorm redevelopment later this evening, and we'll see scattered thunderstorm chances as we go through the evening, clearing out by about 10, maybe 11 at the latest, and then overnight, we're mild, not bad, back into the mid-60s under partly cloudy skies. We're not bad Thursday, upper 80s, more storm chances, pop-up storms Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and temperatures return to the mid-90s, and the good news is we're looking to maybe cool off by the next start of next week as well. Again, we'll keep an eye on the thunderstorms out there now. If any warnings pop up, we'll let you know, and we'll have more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Topping Health Watch this morning, new research indicates the weight loss drug Wegovy may reduce the risk of heart attack, stroke, or heart disease-related death by 20%. That's according to results from a major clinical trial in people with cardiovascular disease. It's the first trial to show a weight loss drug alone can have such protective effects. Novo Nordisk studied Wegovy for prevention of major cardiac events in non-diabetic adults with heart disease who were obese or overweight. The finding of a 20% reduction in the heart risk was higher than many experts had anticipated. The new data could possibly help improve insurance coverage for the drug. And as few as 4,000 steps a day could reduce your risk of death. That's according to a new study published Tuesday in the European Journal of Preventive Cardiology. Experts found that walking a minimum of 4,000 steps a day significantly reduces the risk of early death. But they say more is better. As step count goes up, so do the benefits for health. Every increase of 500 to 1,000 steps a day may lead to significant mortality reductions. Getting in 20,000 steps a day saw the greatest benefit. And the Consumer Product Safety Commission has approved new rules implementing bans on inclined sleepers and crib bumpers to ensure safe sleep for babies. Michael George has more.
The Consumer Product Safety Commission says the goal of the new rules is to save infant lives and create a safer marketplace for parents. The bans on inclined sleepers for infants and crib bumpers were established in the Safe Sleep for Babies Act, which prohibits the sale of these products as well as the manufacture, distribution, or importation of these products into the U.S. The new rules implement the statute, which went into effect in November 2022. About 3,500 infants die from sleep-related causes annually in the United States, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics. The group cites research showing sleep-related death can occur when an infant with a vulnerability to sudden infant death syndrome, or SIDS, is placed in an unsafe sleep environment. Health officials remind parents that babies should be put to sleep on their backs. Infants should always sleep on a firm, flat surface in a crib, bassinet, or play yard. Use only a fitted sheet where the baby sleeps. No blankets, pillows, or padded crib bumpers should be added. Devices like car seats, strollers, and swings are also not recommended for routine sleep. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
The AAP also recommends parents sleep in the same room as the baby for at least the first 6 months, but never the same bed as the baby to reduce the risk of sleep-related infant death. And that's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
And we're continuing to track some thunderstorms across the area. A lot of lightning with these thunderstorms. We'll have the latest on what they're going to do this morning and what our evening storm chances are looking like when we come back.
Right now at 5:30, schools in Wyandotte, Oklahoma introduce a new line of robotic security.
We've got thunderstorms already this morning across the area. We are going to see what happens after these storms move out to determine what our severe threat may be this evening. We'll look at that coming up.
Plus, the Pittsburgh Arts Council gets ready for its first second Saturday event.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 5:29 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
I'm Chris Warner. So we've already got some thunderstorms out there, even a couple of strong storms. The big thing with these right now is we've got some good heavy rain. We're also seeing a lot of lightning. These are very electrical storms this morning, so you got to make sure you're staying safe if you're heading out, especially with all that lightning. Skywatch Storm Tracker showing us where these thunderstorms are at the moment, and you can see a big batch of them across southeast Kansas, stretching back, curving into northeastern Oklahoma, starting to move into southwest Missouri. We do not have any severe thunderstorm warnings or any severe thunderstorm watches with this activity at this time. If that changes, of course, we will certainly let you know. These storms had some severe activity with them earlier this morning, but again, they've calmed down a bit in terms of their strength. But look at all of that lightning that the Skywatch Storm Tracker has been picking up, especially across southeast Kansas. So it's very dangerous lightning. You got to make sure you stay safe. Don't mess around with that. In terms of our severe threat this evening, as of right now, we have a low to elevated risk for an isolated tornado or two across the region, as well as an elevated risk for ping pong ball size hail and an elevated to enhanced risk for wind gusts upwards of 70 miles an hour. But that's going to be highly contingent on what happens with our storms this morning and if the atmosphere recovers enough this evening. If it does so, then across extreme southeast Kansas, northeast Oklahoma, and southwest Missouri, say after 5 p.m., we could see additional severe thunderstorm development. And if we do, then that's when those severe threats come in. If we do see that thunderstorm development, it'll push out of here by about 10 or 11 o'clock. If the atmosphere doesn't recover, then we won't see those strong severe storms. We'll see storms, just not as bad. So we'll keep a close eye on that for you throughout the day, and we'll keep a close eye on the morning storms and have more on those as we go through the show. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. Well, it's not exactly RoboCop, but it is on its way. Schools in Wyandotte, Oklahoma yesterday introduced a new line of robotic security. Joplin-based Stokes Robotics yesterday donated several robots to help the event in an intruder situation. The robots will not patrol the schools and will be deployed only if needed. Wyandotte police and school staff will be trained to use them. Wyandotte schools were chosen for the donation because Stokes Robotics president Robert Stokes is a Wyandotte High School alumni.
It being my alma mater, I had a relationship with Wyandotte, so we approached them to ask if they would be the site that will allow us to come in, set everything up, and make sure that whenever new technologies came out, we could try them out here and make sure that we had a site where we could continually innovate and make sure that things are working well before we send them to other schools.
Officials say this is a first of its kind school security system in the nation. Students will also be able to study them to learn about robotics. A new partnership will bring new healthcare opportunities to PSU. Pitt State students, faculty, and staff will now have expanded access to medical care, pharmacy, and mental health services on campus and in the region thanks to a new partnership with Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas. Benefits for students will be similar at all CHC SEK locations, with student health fees helping to offset any copays or deductibles. They can also receive care at any of the CHC SEK's 15 locations across the region, including 2 in Pittsburgh.
So some of the things that they identified is nutrition support, dental support that they wish we had more of or available to them, pharmacy, different pharmaceutical supports, and many of our students indicated already a connection to CHC.
The clinic will extend hours to 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday during the fall and spring semesters, and from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. weekdays in the summer. The Pittsburgh Arts Council is getting ready for the launch of its first second Saturday event. It's called The Craft of Art. Officials say it'll feature 4 published authors from various genres who will answer questions and share insights into their personal creative process.
It makes the community a little more inviting to come to, so people visit from out of town. They come from all over the states, and they come here and they're like, whoa, like Pittsburgh's pretty rad, it's pretty cool.
The event will happen this Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. at Toast in downtown Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Arts Council will be hosting a different second Saturday every other month. Have you ever wondered what it's like to be an ice cream truck driver? KOAM's Amber Jenkins followed Rodney Daniels, a local ice cream truck driver in Joplin. Originally, Daniels was a funeral director in Arizona. After retiring, he became a driver to spread joy to kids. Daniels assumed kids would love him, but he realized adults are just as happy to see the ice cream van. He loves bringing up nostalgia.
People run up and say, "You remind me of back when, back years ago." Well, there's so many places that didn't even have this, but that kind of marks them and shows where they're from and their past. Everybody likes to remember their past.
If there's a profession you'd like to see a glimpse of, contact Amber Jenkins on Facebook. And the Ottawa County, Oklahoma Free Fair is in full swing. There was poultry and rabbit judging this morning. Then this evening, kids were able to show off their pigs. Officials say the fair teaches kids some valuable lessons.
About work ethic and just hard work in general, taking care of something other than yourself, thinking of something other than yourself. So often these kids will have these animals from the time they are, 8 weeks of age till they're 6, 7, 8 months of age.
Oh, just how it brings people together. You see people, you see all your friends, they all get together, but most importantly, you go and compete and just to see you fight to the top.
The fair runs through Saturday. And Kansas Governor Laura Kelly announces funding for a veterans cemetery in Fort Dodge. The Department of Veterans Affairs has $650,000 for the expansion of the cemetery. The funding will help pay for construction, landscaping, and irrigation at the expansion site. The Kansas Veterans Cemetery at Fort Dodge was established in 2002. The cemetery currently serves more than 6,000 veterans and their eligible family members. That's a look at your top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. We take a look at a movie that puts an interesting spin on the myth of Bram Stoker's Dracula. Plus, Russian airstrikes cause mass casualties in eastern Ukraine. We'll have the latest. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. Topping World Watch, Iran's foreign minister says his country is ready to swap prisoners with the U.S. The foreign minister spoke at a news conference in Tehran saying his country is negotiating with the U.S. through the mediation of Qatar and Oman officials. So far, he says no preconditions have been set for the prisoner exchange as talks have gone on for months. Iran has long taken prisoners with Western passports or ties to use in negotiations with foreign nations. The detainees considered for the swap all have dual U.S. and Iranian citizenship, although that is something Tehran does not recognize. It's not clear how many U.S. citizens are currently being held in Iran. And a busy 24 hours for the Greek Coast Guard, a patrol boat coming to the rescue of 19 people, including children, northeast of the eastern Aegean island of Samos. The video released by the Hellenic Coast Guard shows the group of migrants being picked up after their dinghy lost steering. Only some of the people on board were wearing life jackets. And after a soccer fan's death in Greece, a major game has been postponed. UEFA decided to temporarily delay the Champions League qualifying game after a young soccer fan was killed during a clash with supporters of a rival Croatian team. The 29-year-old man was stabbed outside AEK Athens Stadium, and 8 others were injured. Greece police said they made 88 arrests, and video collected of the incident shows fans throwing flares at each other and fighting with wooden bats. An investigation is underway. And fans gather to mourn the late singer Sinead O'Connor in her former hometown in Ireland ahead of her funeral. People lined the streets of Bray, a small town south of Dublin. O'Connor's family said the singer loved living in Bray and the people in it. The Grammy winner died last month at the age of 56. O'Connor was found unresponsive in her London home. Police have said her death was not suspicious. And Russia hits the same civilian complex twice in one night, targeting children and first responders in a double-tap airstrike. Greg Palkut has more details.
Russia has stepped up its targeting of civilians in Ukraine, unleashing another deadly attack on a residential complex. It happened in the city of Pokrovsk in the east. Iskander cruise missiles hitting the city center. Then, just a short time later, another attack on the same building, thought to be deliberately targeting first responders. At least 8 civilians are dead and dozens more wounded, including police, rescue workers, and children.
The first impact came. We were not hit. All was okay here. I went towards the window, looked. Then I opened the balcony door, and then suddenly the window fell on me.
Overall, the Russians have launched at least 110 missiles, rockets, and drones, targeting 100 different towns and cities in the past 24 hours. Now, more American aid will soon be on the way. The White House preparing a new package worth some $200 million, including air defenses. But some critics say it's too little, too late.
They just trickle what they feel the Ukrainians need, and it is delivered so slowly that it is not as effective as it could be.
And there's no end in sight. The airstrikes and fighting on the front lines only expected to intensify, with U.S. officials claiming Moscow is not interested in finding a peaceful solution to end the conflict.
There are no peace negotiations going on with Russia right now because Russia has refused to engage in meaningful peace negotiations.
Today, Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered his military to step up production of attack drones to be used in Ukraine. And a Bronze Age arrowhead unearthed in Switzerland has made from a meteorite. That's according to a new study published in the Journal of Archaeological Science. Researchers say the arrowhead dates back to between 900 and 800 BC. The inch-and-a-half-long arrowhead was found on a pile-dwelling site at Lake Biel, Switzerland, during excavations in the 19th century. The study says that nearly 3,000-year-old artifact was created with iron from a meteorite that landed in Estonia. This indicates that meteorite iron is traded in Europe by 800 BC or earlier. Experts say it's unusual to find meteoric iron used so early in history. And that's a look at some of your biggest headlines from around the world. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to the KOAM Morning News, 5:45 now on this Wednesday morning. So we're continuing to track these thunderstorms, some of them beginning to re-intensify again across the area. So we have some strong thunderstorms in parts of southeast Kansas now, and with this particular cell in northeast Oklahoma. So let's start in Ottawa County, around the Miami, Fairland area, Quapaw, Peoria. It's not severe, but the National Weather Service in Tulsa is picking up some strong wind gusts around 50, 55 miles an hour, and that puts it just below severe limits. So we're going to keep a close eye on this. They've also picked up, let's take a look here, make sure there's no new information. Also some pea-sized hail possible with this particular cell as it continues to lift off to the north and to the east, which will put it coming just right up I-44. So if you're traveling I-44 this morning, you need to be prepared for this particular storm. Again, not severe at this moment, but it does have some pretty significant wind gusts with it, some strong wind gusts for sure. Up into southeast Kansas, we've got this big batch here, and this is one big strong storm. So again, just below severe limits. We got winds 30, 40 miles an hour, but the bigger issue is we're starting to pick up some larger hail. Again, about 3/4 inch hail, so we're looking just below severe limits, but we are picking up some hail and some gusty winds with these storms as they continue to lift off to the north and east. So again, as of right this moment, no severe thunderstorm warnings, but these storms are beginning to re-intensify across the area, so we're going to keep a very close eye on them as we go through the morning hours. And as you can see, there is a lot of lightning. You've got to take that lightning seriously. As we head into the evening, we've been talking about it. Everything this evening is contingent on what happens this morning, but if we get the destabilization that's expected later this afternoon, we have a low to elevated risk for tornadoes. We're also looking at an elevated risk for hail. We're talking ping pong ball size hail, and we have an elevated to even enhanced risk for strong damaging wind gusts in excess of 70 miles an hour. So all of this, we've just got to keep a real close eye on. So let's go down the road on the future track. We're looking at these showers and storms from this morning clearing out. We could see a little redevelopment later this morning, but it'll also clear out. And then after about 4 or 5 o'clock, this is where we're watching for the potential of redevelopment. Now again, this particular future track right now is kind of operating on the belief that we may not get the destabilization that we're looking at possibly this afternoon. If so, as you can see, it'll be a lot more isolated, and the greater severe threat will end up shifting to our east. If we get the destabilization that we're expecting this afternoon, then we'll see strong to severe thunderstorms develop across parts of extreme southeast Kansas, back into northeastern Oklahoma and southwest Missouri. And as they initially develop, that's where that attendant threat for maybe an isolated tornado or two, the large hail, and those damaging wind gusts will come from. from, and then they will shift out of the area, say by about 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock tonight. We'll be done with any thunderstorms across the region, and we'll go overnight and have a pretty decent evening ahead of us. As of right now, we do have thunderstorms in the area. We've been seeing plenty of, look at that, plenty of lightning on our camera at 7th and Rangeline, 74 in Joplin right now with an apparent thunderstorm, obviously. As we look around the region, we're not bad temperature-wise, at least. 71 Iola, Fort Scott, and Nevada. 69 Yates Center, Chanute. 73 Pittsburgh, Parsons, Chautauqua, and Neodesha. We're at 74 Miami, 72 Neosho. So these showers and storms, again, continuing through the morning. They'll start pushing out, so we're looking more scattered thunderstorm chances as we go late morning, mid-70s. And then as we head into the afternoon, if we get sunshine, if we get enough clearing, enough warming, then we'll see that attendant severe threat this evening. If we don't get enough, we'll still see some thunderstorms. They could still be strong, but it won't be as intense as what it could possibly be. So we just got to keep a close eye on this throughout the afternoon. We're looking at highs otherwise right around the mid-80s out there. And as we go into the evening, that's when we could potentially see additional thunderstorm development out there, especially along extreme southeast Kansas and in southwest Missouri, northeast Oklahoma. And we got a pretty mild overnight after these storms clear out, back into the mid-60s, partly cloudy. Our Thursday looking great. We're talking upper 80s tomorrow under partly cloudy skies. Then we see pop-up storm chances return to our forecast Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's when we start to warm up again, back into the mid-90s out there. Then we get a little break from the heat one more time, Monday and Tuesday, and then we're looking at pop-up storm chances for the second half of next week. We're also looking at temperatures returning upper 90s to near 100 degrees. So again, at this time, just double-checking, no severe thunderstorm warnings out there at the moment. We will continue to monitor these storms through the morning and, of course, monitor the latest updates on our storm expectations this evening. We'll bring you any watches or warnings this morning, and of course we'll keep you updated through the afternoon as well. We'll be back with more of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
A single memorable chapter from a classic vampire novel has been adapted into a big screen horror film in theaters this weekend. Daniel has a preview.
The Demeter, on charter from Romania to London. Shipping private crates. Contents unknown.
And in one crate, Dracula. The Last Voyage of the Demeter is based on Chapter 7 of Bram Stoker's iconic novel.
It's great to have a contained story like that belongs to such a wonderful tale of classic literature.
This particular chapter is probably one of the most interesting chapters of this entire, of Bram Stoker's novel.
We're a doomed crew, Mr. Clemens. On a doomed ship.
Bram Stoker was born in a house literally around the corner from me, about a kilometre away. And now when I'm driving into the city, I get to give him a little nod of appreciation because he's put shoes on my children's feet.
Evil is on board. Powerful evil.
Walking into this film, built around an iconic, legendary character who I've adored since I was a child, getting to be a part of a Universal Pictures horror film directed by André Overdahl, and then stepping onto the deck of a real ship.
And you walk into this practical set. I'm claustrophobic, so the ceilings are low.
He is on this ship, which means that we will never leave it.
The goal was to make the scariest Dracula movie in a long time. That was absolutely the goal of making this movie.
He's coming!
In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Looks like a spooky one. Well, I hope you people go and check it out. We'll be right back with more news after this. Hundreds of sheep were given right-of-way to cross a highway in Washington State on August 8th. The Washington State Department of Transportation captured video of the herd moving west across US 97 Blewett Pass east of Seattle with a cloud of dust in its wake. The department worked with a rancher, shepherds, and sheepdogs to ensure an orderly transfer and minimal traffic buildup. The herd is moved twice a year to access grazing areas, and the department said in an online post the animals will cross back east later this summer or early fall. And millions of Americans hope to become a billionaire off of the Mega Millions, and someone did. The Mega Millions lottery announced that one winning ticket was Tuesday's jackpot. It was sold at Publix in Neptune Beach, Florida. The details behind the winning ticket have not been released yet. The jackpot was worth an estimated $1.58 billion, the largest in the lottery's history. Whoever won could also decide to take the lump sum payment option, which is about $783 million before taxes. 7 other tickets sold in 6 states for Tuesday's drawings won millions of dollars. In case you were wondering if you were a winner, here are the winning numbers from Tuesday's drawing. The numbers are 13, 19, 20, 32, 33, with a gold mega ball of 14.
We've still got strong thunderstorms out there this morning. Those will continue as we go through the morning hours and start to clear out by late morning and into the early afternoon. And then if we get enough destabilization, we could see another round of severe storms as we head into the evening hours. We go in the afternoon, partly to mostly cloudy skies, temperatures back to the mid-80s, and then we'll start to see thunderstorm chances return as we head into the evening. If we don't get enough destabilization, we'll still see some thunderstorms this evening. They may just not be as severe as we're currently expecting, but if we do get that, especially extreme southeast Kansas, southwest Missouri, and in northeast Oklahoma, say after about 4 or 5 o'clock, we'll see redevelopment of some strong to possibly severe thunderstorms as we head through the evening hours. All remaining thunderstorms should be out of here by about 10, 11 o'clock, leaving us partly cloudy, mid-60s overnight. Got a nice Thursday ahead of us, mid-90s heading into the weekend with some pop-up storm chances. We'll have the latest on these morning thunderstorms and what you need to know in the next hour of the KOAM Morning News right after this.
Right now at 6, the McCune man who shot his grandson now faces murder charges.
We've got some strong thunderstorms rolling across the area this morning, and then we're looking at another round of potential severe weather as we head into the evening hours. We'll take a look at that forecast coming up.
Also, the latest reaction from the city of Knoll, Missouri about the planned closing of the Tyson chicken plant.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning, 4 states, and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 6 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
I'm Chris Warner. So we've got some strong thunderstorms rolling through the area this morning. A lot of electrical activity with these storms, so you definitely want to play it safe with all this lightning out there. And you can see that on the Skywatch Storm Tracker. In fact, somewhere near our Joplin office at 7th and Range Line got struck by lightning because we saw the bright flash and then we lost our camera there for a little bit and it reset. So it's back up now. But we've got some strong thunderstorms across the area. No severe thunderstorms. I know for some of you, you're looking at all this lightning, you're probably under these thunderstorms, they're pouring rain, you got all that lightning, and you're thinking, why are these not severe? We're just not at that point right now. We did have a strong thunderstorm here in Ottawa County. Now you can see it's tracking on off to the northeast. Initially, that particular cell was strong. We were talking winds of 50, maybe even 55 miles an hour, so just below severe criteria, but it is beginning to weaken a bit as it crosses into southwest Missouri, and we've got strong thunderstorms across parts of southeast Kansas with some pea-sized hail and wind gusts upwards of around 40 miles an hour. So we're talking Chanute, Yates Center, Iola, Fredonia, Erie. These are all places where we are seeing some of those storms as they continue to lift on off to the north and to the east. Once these storms clear out, which they're expected to do later this morning into the early afternoon, we're waiting to see what happens with the atmosphere behind that to determine what our severe threat is looking like as we head into this evening. So we're going to go, I skipped too many. We're going to take a quick look at that. As of right now, we do have a low to elevated tornado threat for an isolated tornado or two. We have an elevated hail risk for ping pong ball size hail, and we have an elevated to enhanced wind risk. We're talking winds of 70 miles an hour or greater, but again, that's all contingent on whether or not we get enough destabilization this afternoon. We'll have more on these morning storms and what we're expecting this evening, as well as the weekend here in a few more minutes. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. And we're going to kick things off with a look at the results from local elections yesterday. Shall Duquesne imposes sales tax of 3% on all retail sales of marijuana sold, and 29 voted yes and 6 voted no. Shall Airport Drive impose an additional tax of 3% on all retail sales of marijuana sold, 27 voted yes and 44 voted no. Shall the City of Alba impose a sales tax of 3% on all retail sales of adult use of marijuana sold? 12 voted yes and 0 voted no. And shall the Neosho Special Road District continue .1568 tax levy for road maintenance and improvements from 2024 to 2027? 140 voted yes and 32 voted no. And for the Seneca Special Road District, continue the .157 tax levy for road maintenance and improvement from 2024 to 2027. 41 voted yes and 9 voted no. Shall Fairview Special Road District continue .1641 tax levy for road maintenance and improvement from 2024 to 2027? 10 voted yes and 0 voted no. Shall the Diamond Special Road District continue the .1784 tax levy for road maintenance and improvements from 2024 to 2027? 13 voted yes and 1 voted no. And the Stellus Special Road District continue the .1431 tax levy for road maintenance and improvements for 2024 to 2027. 9 voted yes and 3 voted no. The Midway Special Road District continue the .1795 tax levy for road maintenance and improvements. 44 voted yes and 6 voted no. Be sure to download the KOAM News app for all your election needs. You can also go to our website for election information at koamnewsnow.com/elections. The website will include resources for all of the 4-state area, such as polling places, deadlines, dates, and you can even check to see if you're registered to vote. Once again, that's koamnewsnow.com/elections. Well, now the man suspected of killing his own grandson in McCune, Kansas Monday is now formally charged with second-degree murder in the case. 70-year-old John Fox of McCune made his first court appearance yesterday to hear the charge. The shooting occurred at his McCune, Kansas home early yesterday morning. Investigators believe John Fox shot and killed his grandson, 28-year-old Ian Fox of Lexington. Still no word on the surrounding the shooting or possible motive. And a Carthage man learns his fate for a fatal crash that happened just over 2 years ago. Kenton Cowgill gets a life sentence for second-degree murder. Authorities say in July of 2021, Cowgill was passed out in his car, blocking a driveway. Joplin police say when they woke him, he sped away, leading them on a chase. That chase ended a crash involving 2 other vehicles at the intersection of 7th and Duquesne Road. Police say Cowgill tried to flee from the crash scene and get rid of 94 grams of meth. The driver of one of those vehicles, 66-year-old Robert McDermott of Joplin, later died from injuries suffered in the crash. In addition to the life sentence, Cowgill also received 15 years for DWI death of another and 7 years for resisting arrest and another 15 years for trafficking drugs. Town officials in Knoll, Missouri are speaking out after Tyson Food announces the closure of its processing plant. The news of the pending closure is sinking in, and we're getting more reaction from some community leaders. KOAM's Anthony Saviello has the story.
Similar to many people in the town of Knoll, the news that its biggest job provider would be shutting its doors came as a surprise to the town mayor.
Somewhere around 7 o'clock in the morning, I got a call from James Wood. He's the governmental compliance officer for the plant here in town. He wanted to let me know before it actually became public that their last day of operation is supposed to be October 20th of this year.
For Mayor Terry Lance, this situation is new territory and something he has sought help handling.
I've never been through this before, wasn't sure what direction to go, so I reached out to the Missouri Municipal League and Harry S. Truman Coordinating Council after it became public to let them know that we have a plant that's going to be empty and that I'd like some help in finding a business to move in.
The plant is home to nearly 1,500 employees, most of which will be without a job come the end of October. However, there is some hope for those who may want to continue working for Tyson.
He told me that anyone employed there, assuming that they have openings, will have the opportunity to transfer to different facilities if they choose to do so, which I was glad to hear.
However, the issue with transferring is that the next closest Tyson facility is an hour away.
Especially with fuel prices, I don't think many people are going to want to commute quite that far. It ends up costing you too much to work there.
Right.
So I see a lot of people either looking for a different line of work or unfortunately moving out of town.
The town marshal, Randy Wilson, agrees with the mayor that this will be a hard blow on the town, but has a word of encouragement for the people he serves.
What we are here to do, and like I've told people, as a community, it's time to stand together. It's time to work together through these hard times.
So while there still may be some questions that remain unanswered, the best hope for this community is to rely on each other. Reporting in Knoll, I'm Anthony Saviello, KOAM News.
The mayor is working on a plan to provide assistance to community members when the time comes. Part of that will be looking for a way to start a food bank, as well as putting on a job fair. And that's a look at this morning's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Coming up on the KOAM Morning News. Approximately 30 submerged vehicles were discovered in a lake near Miami, Florida over the weekend. Plus, Ohio voters rejected a measure that would make it harder to amend the state constitution. And Chris Warner returns with another look at your Wednesday forecast. You're watching the KOAM Morning News. We'll be right back. Topping Nation Watch this morning, the Air National Guardsman accused of leaking classified intelligence online knowingly shared classified information with at least one person who appears to live in a foreign country. According to a sworn statement by an FBI agent who investigated Jack Teixeira, the 21-year-old allegedly shared government information in at least 3 Discord servers, one of which had some federal foreign nationals among it and 150 members. The statement says in February 2020, Teixeira asked another user to confirm that they lived in a foreign city, the exact name of which was redacted from the document filed last week. Teixeira's defense lawyer declined to comment on the recent filing. Teixeira, a junior enlisted airman with the Massachusetts Air National Guard, was charged in June with 6 counts of willful retention and transmission of classified information related to national defense. He has pleaded not guilty. And tornadoes, floods, and blizzards, just some of the weather disasters the U.S. has experienced through the first 7 months of this year. And they've been costly. A new government report says it tracked 15 weather events where the cost and damages exceeded $1 billion. That's a new record. The National Centers for Environmental Information keeps track of this information and says the number of billion-dollar storms is the highest since 1980. Overall, the weather disasters have cost nearly $40 billion and are to blame for more than 110 deaths so far this year. And approximately 30 submerged vehicles were discovered in a lake near Miami, Florida over the weekend. The vehicles were found in Doral by an underwater search team that specializes in missing persons cold cases. It turns out the vehicles were not connected to any of those cold cases and no human remains were found. But authorities are investigating to see if the vehicles are linked to other crimes. They said due to high numbers of missing people and vehicles in South Florida, the Doral Lake was one of many locations they are searching. And they'll know more once the vehicles are pulled from the bottom of the lake. More than 40 cold cases are under investigation in Miami and Broward counties. Overnight, Ohio voters rejected a measure that would make it harder to amend the state constitution. It's a move some believe paves the way for a vote to pass abortion protections there later this year. But as CBS News' Jared Hill reports, the impact could go far beyond the state lines.
The majority still rules in Ohio.
A major win for supporters of abortion rights in red-leaning Ohio.
Voters were not fooled by this unprecedented, dishonest attempt to silence our voice.
Last night, voters rejected a measure called Issue 1, maintaining the simple majority threshold to pass constitutional amendments. That's 50% of the vote plus 1, instead of the 60% supermajority state Republicans supported. It comes ahead of a vote in November, where Ohioans will decide if their state constitution should include protections for abortion access.
We don't want to see a really radical abortion amendment put in our state constitution.
But according to a recent poll, 58% of Ohioans are in favor. It'll be yet another test of America's temperature on the issue, over a year since the Supreme Court ruled abortion access isn't a federally protected right, rather a decision for the states.
It's really going to set the tone for the 2024 elections, when we have a presidential election as well as many other states wanting to address abortion rights.
Ohio once again at the heart of the political debate.
Responding to the outcome, President Biden said in a statement, this measure was a blatant attempt to weaken voters' voices and further erode the freedom of women to make their own health care decisions. Ohioans spoke loud and clear, and tonight, democracy won. That's a look at some of today's top national stories. Now here's Chris with a look at your forecast.
Yeah, we're continuing to track some thunderstorms across the area. Some of these have been a bit on the strong side. No severe storms at this point. We'll take another full look at the forecast, what these morning storms are doing, and how our evening is looking when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Topping Health Watch this morning, as kids return to school, parents are also returning to packing school lunches. But as Michael George explains, there's a health risk in your child's lunchbox that many parents aren't aware of.
When Sarah Fisher packs a lunch for her 7-year-old, Harlow, she tries to balance healthy snacks with food she'll actually eat.
She'll ask for her make-her-own style Lunchables, so I'll cut cheese up into squares. Sometimes we do it with a little turkey pepperoni and some crackers.
Healthy food is important, but there's another potential risk parents should consider when making a school lunch: foodborne illnesses.
Young children are a group of the population particularly susceptible to foodborne illness.
Sandra Eskin is part of the USDA's Food Safety Division. She says foodborne illnesses cause 128,000 hospitalizations and 3,000 deaths in the U.S. every year. One mistake parents make when making lunches is not keeping cold food at 40 degrees or lower to prevent bacteria. The old brown paper bag won't cut it.
There are small ice packs, there are small cold packs, and you can also use a juice box or a water bottle that you put in the freezer night before, and then you stick it in the lunchbox.
Eskin says when preparing a lunch, keep kitchen surfaces clean and keep raw meat away from other types of food. Many parents say they're mindful of the risks of letting food get contaminated.
That's always a big concern, making sure things stay fresh throughout the day.
I actually bought one of the little bento boxes that has the freezer part that attaches to it, so it stays in the freezer.
With just a few simple steps, parents and kids can get an A+ in food safety. Michael George, CBS News, New York.
Another tip, experts say hot food should be kept above 140 degrees. You can add a bottle of boiling water to a lunchbox to keep the food at just the right temperature all day. And women who drink sugary drinks are at a higher risk for liver cancer and chronic liver disease. A study of nearly 100,000 postmenopausal women published in JAMA Network found those who drank at least one sugary drink per day saw a significantly higher risk for developing liver disease. Chronic liver disease accounts for about 55,000 deaths a year in the U.S., according to the CDC. And you don't want to walk very much to get a big health benefit. A study published by the European Society of Cardiology found walking around 4,000 steps a day is enough to reduce the risk of death. And you could only need about 2,300 steps a day to reduce your chance of dying from heart disease. But experts say it seems clear the more steps you take, the better it is for your health. And walking, it may not be so healthy for you, though, if you do it while texting. A new study finds you're more likely to slip and fall when combining the two. 50 students at the University of New South Wales participated in an experiment where they walked over a slippery surface while texting. Researchers found that those who texted while walking had a higher risk of falling over hazards on the ground. And on top of that, their texting accuracy was worse too. And that's a look at some of today's top health stories. You're watching the KOAM Morning News.
We're continuing to track some thunderstorms across the area. Some of these have been strong this morning. The good news is so far, no severe weather. We'll talk about what these thunderstorms are going to do and about potential redevelopment this evening when the KOAM Morning News returns.
Right now at 6:30, Wyandotte schools have a first in the nation way to protect students during an intruder situation.
And we're continuing to track thunderstorms rolling across the area this morning. We'll talk about these morning storms and what we're expecting for the rest of the day coming up.
Plus, the Pittsburgh Arts Council gets ready for its first Second Saturday event.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
Good morning and welcome to the KOAM Morning News. The time now is 6:30 a.m. I'm Caitlin O'Shaughnessy.
I'm Chris Warner. So we've been continuing to track strong thunderstorms across the area. We haven't had any severe weather this morning, but we have had some stronger storms with some gusty winds upwards of 40, 50 miles an hour and some small hail out there as well. So let's take a quick look. Wide view of the Skywatch Storm Tracker. Take a look at all of this lightning with this activity now into southwestern Missouri. We're going to start right there into northern Jasper County and southern Barton County. That is a lot of lightning. I'll try and get you guys a count on how many lightning strikes we're looking at here. We have these thunderstorms. They are not strong. We've been picking up some small hail, especially just between Jasper and Carthage along I-49. So not severe hail, but some small hail out there. So do be aware of that. When we go back into southeast Kansas, these storms still producing some wind gusts upwards of about 40 40 miles an hour, but the hail threat has diminished significantly as the stronger portions of the cells now moving into northern Crawford County, northern Girard, heading up toward the Fort Scott area, right toward Highway 69. So anybody doing any traveling this morning, really on any of the highways in the area, needs to be prepared for the frequent lightning and very heavy rainfall. We've got to watch out for the potential for some flash flooding. So here's what we're looking at in terms of the latest information. We could see some additional development back across northeastern Oklahoma as we go through the morning. And that would open up the window for another round of strong, possibly severe thunderstorms between now and about 1 o'clock this afternoon. Then we're still watching the possibility of strong to severe thunderstorms as we head into the evening. Just reading some of the latest updates, and it's still looking like that's exactly what's going to play out. It's just a matter of when and where on this. So right now we still have this low to elevated tornado risk across parts of the area. We have a low to elevated hail risk for hail up to maybe ping pong ball size. And then we have an elevated to enhanced wind risk. So we're talking damaging wind gusts 70 miles an hour or greater as we head into the evening hours. And we could still see some strong, possibly severe storms leading up to the noon hour as well. So we're going to be here tracking this all morning for you. As we go through the afternoon, atmosphere it's looking more likely as though it's going to recover. There's still some questions. We got to watch it closely. But the latest information I was just reading suggests that it's looking fairly likely the atmosphere will recover enough. It's going to be a next question of how quickly thunderstorms develop in the same region that we've been talking about back in northeast Oklahoma, southwest Missouri, and then say maybe parts of Crawford and Cherokee counties back into southeast Kansas. This is the area that we're really watching for redevelopment of thunderstorms this evening with that more significant severe threat. So we're going to keep a close eye on that. But again, between now and noon, we could see additional strong to severe thunderstorms. Got our camera at 7th and Range Line pointed back to the north as the stronger storm activity staying now moving north of Joplin. Still thunderstorms though, 72, feels like 72. And temperatures around the region, we've got some cool spots with the heavier rain, so you can see this little green stripe right here through parts of southeast Kansas from Chanute to Pittsburgh, 66, 67, and then you get outside of that, even though it's been raining, it's been storming, we're still fairly warm for this hour. 74 Independence, Miami, 72 Chatopa, 73 Fort Scott, 71 Nevada Lamar, and 72 Neosho and Monette. So again, as we go through the morning, these thunderstorms will stick with us, holding on through the late morning hours and closing in on the noon hour. They should be a bit more scattered, but we're still looking at those thunderstorms, and our highs today still look in the mid-80s. Now, if we get into the upper 80s, that's the other side of what could fuel the thunderstorm development later this evening. There are so many potential factors to watch today, and we, of course, will be right here keeping an eye on all this. Otherwise, partly to mostly cloudy skies, and again, mid-80s as we head into the afternoon. We'll have the latest on these morning storms, and we'll continue to monitor the potential for our evening severe threat as we go through the morning. Caitlin?
Thanks, Chris. Kansas Governor Laura Kelly announces funding for a veterans cemetery in Fort Dodge. The Department of Veterans Affairs has $650,000 for the expansion of the cemetery. The funding will help pay for construction, landscaping, and irrigation at the expansion site. The Kansas Veterans Cemetery at Fort Dodge was established in 2002. The cemetery currently serves more than 6,000 veterans and their eligible family members. A new partnership will bring new healthcare opportunities to PSU. Pitt State students, faculty, and staff will now have expanded access to medical care, pharmacy, and mental health services on campus and in the region thanks to a new partnership with Community Health Center of Southeast Kansas. Benefits for students will be similar at all CHC-SEK locations, with student health fees helping to offset any copays or deductibles. They can also receive care at any CHC-SEK's 15 locations across the region, including 2 in Pittsburgh.
So some of the things that they identified is nutrition support, dental support that they wish we had more of or available to them, pharmacy, different pharmaceutical supports, and many of our students indicated already a connection to CHC.
The clinic will extend hours to 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday during the fall and spring semesters, and from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. weekdays in the summer. The Pittsburgh Arts Council is ready to launch a new second Saturday. It's called The Craft of Art. Officials say it'll feature 4 published authors from various genres who will answer questions and share insights into their personal creative processes.
Craft of Art series is supposed to be something a little different from a regular open mic or a reading. which is to say that the thing that fascinates me about any artist is hearing a little bit about their process, some aspect of their process even.
The event will be this Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. at Toast in downtown Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Arts Council will host a different second Saturday every other month. And it's not exactly RoboCop, but it's on its way. Schools in Wyandotte, Oklahoma yesterday introduced a new line of robotic security. Joplin-based Stokes Robotics yesterday donated several robots to help in the event of an intruder situation. The robots will not patrol the schools and will be deployed only if needed. Wyandotte police and school staff will be trained to use them, and officials say this is a first-of-its-kind school security system in the nation.
There's someone in the building, you could actually use the robot to confront that person, maybe slow them down, give you extra time. It's just a process. We're the first one, so we don't know exactly what all we can do. We're learning as we go, but it's an exciting opportunity.
Wyandotte schools were chosen for the donation because Stokes Robotics president Robert Stokes is a Wyandotte High School alum. Students will also be able to learn and study about robotics. And the Ottawa County, Oklahoma Free Fair is in full swing. There was poultry and rabbit judging earlier yesterday. Then Saturday evening, kids were able to show off their pigs.
My husband, my family, we've been doing this since we were kids. So to be able to pass that on to the next generation, to our kids, is just very important to us. And we do it as a family. So the mornings and nights in the barn are done as a family.
So in the gilt show, they will be judging based off maternal value and stuff, just how if they can lay down and have pigs successfully. And in the market show, it's what can put the most meat on that table.
The free fair runs through Saturday. And have you ever wondered what it's like to be an ice cream truck driver? KOAM's Amber Jenkins followed Rodney Daniels, a local ice cream truck driver in Joplin. Originally, Daniels was a funeral director in Arizona, but after retiring, he became a driver to spread joy to kids. Daniels assumed kids would love him, but he realized that actually adults are just as happy to see the ice cream van, and he loves bringing everyone nostalgia.
People run up and say, "You remind me of back when, back years ago." Well, there's so many places that didn't even have this, but that kind of marks them and shows where they're from. And their past. Everybody likes to remember their past.
And if there's a profession you'd like to see a glimpse of, contact Amber Jenkins on Facebook. That's a look at our top news stories coming up this half hour on the KOAM Morning News. Drivers could see some relief when it comes to gas prices later this month.
And we are continuing to track strong thunderstorms across the area. We'll have the latest on what we're getting this morning and what we're expecting later today when we come back.
In Consumer Watch this morning, after relatively smooth sailing to begin the busy summer travel season, gas prices have climbed in recent weeks, but relief could be around the corner. Karen Kafa has more.
According to AAA, the national average for a gallon of regular gasoline is up 29 cents from 1 month ago. There are a combination of factors at play, including extreme heat in some parts of the country that is pushing up prices at the pumps. At the gas pumps, a summertime surge. According to AAA, the national average for a gallon of regular gas is $3.82, still 23 cents lower than 1 year ago, but it's 25 cents higher than when the summer driving season started Memorial Day weekend. As key states like Texas and Louisiana swelter in the summer heat, refineries have slowed down. Temperatures above 100 degrees have prompted temporary outages and cut supply.
Refineries are exposed to the elements, and so refineries can't escape the heat. A lot of the time, sensitive equipment that refineries use is very sensitive to triple-digit temperatures.
Patrick DeHaan of Gas Buddy says at the same time, OPEC has curbed supply to drive global oil prices higher.
Some of the heat-related issues that now are starting to fade, but overall, the higher price of oil has been causing gas prices to finally rise to some of the highest levels we've seen since last year.
A turnaround could be on the way soon. DeHaan says the typically slower driving weeks of August, combined with a drop-off in temperatures, could give drivers some relief for the final weeks of summer.
If we can avoid a major hurricane, or if we can avoid OPEC making further production cuts or other refining issues, we should see gas prices improving between now and Labor Day.
DeHaan also notes that weekend demand has fallen off over the last few weeks or so, and of course, less demand means lower prices at the gas pumps. In Washington, I'm Karen Kafa.
Campbell's Soup is adding the maker of a popular pasta sauce to its line of products. The company announced it's set to buy Sovos brands for about $2.7 billion. Rouse accounted for about 2/3 of Sovos' more than $800 million in net sales last year. And federal regulators are looking into a potential power steering problem in more than 1 million Ram 1500 pickup trucks. The investigation was opened nearly after 400 complaints were filed about the issue in model of years 2013 through 2016. Officials say the problem has led to 3 crashes but no injuries. The truck maker says it's cooperating with the investigation. And ESPN is getting into the sports betting business. The multi-platform sports network struck a $2 billion agreement with Penn Agreement to rebrand as Sportsbook to ESPN Bet. It will be available through U.S. fans, and this will fall in the 16 states where it's licensed. That's it for Consumer Watch. Now here's Chris with another look at your forecast.
Yeah, we continue to track strong thunderstorms across the area. The bulk of the activity, the heavier activity, is beginning to push on off to the east. You can see where all of that lightning is, and I did promise you all I would get a quick check on the number of lightning strikes. We'll just check this heavier batch here. There you go, 424 lightning strikes right there in just that zone alone. So this lightning is dangerous. You got to take it seriously as well. We're going to continue to monitor these storms for the morning, talk about the potential for redevelopment and then what we may see this evening. And we'll have another full look at that forecast here in just a few more minutes. It's also about time to celebrate birthdays and anniversaries. They're coming up after the break. But before we do that, we're going to see what these folks in New York are getting ready to bring us on CBS Mornings.
Hello to you, I'm Gail King. Coming up on CBS Mornings, 2-time world champion boxer, that's Terrence Crawford right there on your screen. He will join us. He has got quite a story to tell. Listen to this, going from king of the streets to the king of the ring. We like when that happens. That's coming right up on CBS Mornings.
All right, time for some Wednesday birthdays here in the 4 states, and we're going to begin in Columbus with Augustus Clark celebrating birthday number 2. Happy birthday, Augustus.
And over in Jasper, happy birthday to Debbie Hensley, who's turning 64 today.
And Melba Owen in Columbus as well, celebrating birthday number 88. Happy birthday, Melba.
And happy 64th anniversary or birthday to Stanley and Manine Ryan out of Crestline, Kansas.
All right, and I am not going to say this right, I know it. Onyx Hovey celebrating birthday number 5 in Riverton. Happy birthday.
And happy 3rd birthday to Anna Say over in Dennis, Kansas.
And last but not least, we've got Sean Haggerty celebrating a birthday in Frontenac. Once again, a very short list and nowhere near enough pictures and birthdays and anniversaries. Caitlin, how can they help us out?
Well, we want you to submit your birthdays and anniversaries with pictures, and feel free to include some messages over to birthdays@KOAMnewsnow.com.
And of course, while you're on our website checking out, especially today, the latest weather information, make sure you take time to sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club. It is easy to do. You get great deals from local businesses. In addition, you get a special birthday message from your friends here at KOAM. So make sure you take time to sign up for the KOAM Birthday Club today. All right, we are continuing to track thunderstorms that are moving across the area. You can see on the Skywatch storm tracker, as we mentioned, 400 some odd lightning strikes with this batch of thunderstorms now entering the eastern portions of our area in southwest Missouri. Not as much lightning now back into southeast Kansas. We had some stronger storms out there earlier. We have not had any severe thunderstorm warnings with any of this activity, but some of those storms picked up a bit. They were close to severe levels, but not quite there. So from Arcola down to Greenfield, north of Red Oak, we've got this heavier cell here, quite a bit of lightning, and still picking up some small hail, but not significant hail by any means. And that stretches all the way back down toward Mount Vernon, Monette, and Corsicana, right along I-44, heading off to Springfield, or of course, if you're coming from Springfield back to Joplin, you got to deal with that, so make sure you are prepared. Number of highways in southeast Kansas, we got heavy rain, moderate to heavy rain across a good portion of the area. Still some heavier rain out here south of Chanute, right along 169. Got some heavier rain around Girard, south of Fort Scott, heading toward Highway 69. So do be prepared for that as you travel this morning. You can see how this whole complex has just come together and pushed on off to the east-northeast across the area. So now what we're going to watch for is the potential for redevelopment between now and the noon hour, and then the potential for more severe thunderstorm chances as we head into the evening. As of right now, through this evening, we do have a low to elevated tornado threat across the area, as well as a low to elevated hail risk. So we're talking ping pong ball size hail. And we have an elevated to enhanced risk for strong damaging wind gusts in excess of 70 miles an hour. So we could see additional thunderstorm development between now and noon. We were going to look at scattered storms, but we could see strong thunderstorms, possibly severe, develop and intensify between now and noon. Then, as the atmosphere recovers, if it does so, we'll see additional development of more severe thunderstorms right through this corridor here from southwest Missouri, parts of southeast Kansas, and back into northeast Oklahoma. And that's where that next round of more intense severe weather could be. But again, as we've mentioned, if the atmosphere doesn't destabilize enough, we'll still get those thunderstorms. They could still be strong to severe, but the severe threat would be lower across the area. So it's something we still have to keep a close eye on as we head through the afternoon. Right now, we've got the mostly cloudy skies in Joplin, light rain falling there, 71 degrees in the city. And as we look at temperatures around the area, not a bad start to the day. 70 Fort Scott, Nevada, at least not a bad start temperature-wise. 67 in Chanute, 74 Independence, 74 Miami, and 72 in Neosho. And again, as we get the morning started, we're continuing to see these thunderstorm chances with us all the way through late morning, and temperatures pushing into the mid-70s. We'll have another look at your forecast and the news you need to know right after this. And when the KOAM Morning News switches over to Fox 14, a Minneapolis author donates $1,000 to businesses owned by Black women.
To check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door. The man suspected of killing his own grandson in McCune, Kansas Monday is now formally charged with second-degree murder in the case. 70-year-old John Fox of McCune made his first court appearance yesterday to hear the charge. The shooting occurred at the McCune, Kansas home early yesterday morning. Investigators believe John Fox shot and killed his grandson, 28-year-old Ian Fox of Lexington, Kentucky. Still no word on the circumstances surrounding the shooting or possible motive. And schools in Wyandotte, Oklahoma yesterday introduced a new line of robotic security. Joplin-based Stokes Robotics yesterday donated several robots to help in the event of an intruder situation. The robots will not patrol the schools and will be deployed only if needed. Wyandotte police and school staff will be trained to use them, and officials say this is a first of its kind. The Pittsburgh Arts Council is getting ready for the launch of its first second Saturday event. It's called The Craft of Art. Officials say it'll feature 4 published authors from various genres who will answer questions and share insights into their personal creative processes. The event will be this Saturday from 3 to 5 p.m. at Toast in downtown Pittsburgh. The Pittsburgh Arts Council will host a different second Saturday every other month. And the Ottawa County, Oklahoma Free Fair is in full swing. There was poultry and rabbit judging earlier yesterday. Then yesterday evening, kids were able to show off their pigs. The carnival arrives at the fairgrounds yesterday, and the free fair runs through Saturday. That's a check of today's top headlines, the news you need to know before you head out the door.
All right, quick update for folks in southeast Kansas. So for Allen, Neosho, Wilson, and Woodson counties, a new flood warning has gone out. As gauges have indicated, between 1 and 4 inches of rain have fallen. So we're getting that much needed rainfall, but unfortunately could lead to dangerous flooding in parts of southeast Kansas. You need to be aware of that. Again, that's for Allen, Neosho, Wilson, and Woodson counties. We're going to see thunderstorms through the morning and then redevelopment possible this evening with more severe weather possible as well, something we're keeping a close eye on. Highs mid-80s, clearing overnight, partly cloudy, mid-60s. And as we look ahead to the week ahead, we've got a pretty decent Thursday. We're looking at pop-up storms Friday, Saturday, Sunday, mid-90s. And we are, of course, going to continue to track the storms this morning and between now and noon, and then any thunderstorms we may see this evening. We'll keep you updated.
All right, well, coming up today at noon, we're making orzo stuffed peppers in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
And your morning news continues on KOAM with CBS Mornings.
Or you can switch on over with us on Fox 14, where your only local morning news continues.
We've got a lot coming up over there, including Emily Frankowski from Connect-A-Culture is going to be joining us for the latest arts and entertainment events in the area. That's going to wrap it up for us for now. Again, we'll continue to track these storms for you, and we'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 5 a.m.
And we'll see you at noon.